3. I vote we wait till 5:05 and then start. Does that sound okay? All right, 5:05. Welcome to the Clark County School District Sex Education Advisory Committee meeting. My name is Christopher Carroll. I'm the Director over Science, Health, Physical Education, Driver Education, and STEM for the Clark County School District. Tonight, I will be walking you through the meeting in the role of the CCSD liaison to the Sex Education Advisory Committee. I would like to call the meeting to order for February 19th, 2026. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded per open meeting law. We'll start with our flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Elena, will you take roll, please?
Arcelia Barajas. Shay Bravo Bazard.
Present.
Keith Frank. Nakia Jackson Hale.
Present.
Kara McAnallen.
Present.
Carissa Quattrino.
Present.
Joanna Soto Hinosa. Amanda Stevens.
Present.
Dee Thomas.
Present.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Each of you have a binder with all of the meeting materials in front of you. Copies are also available for the public in the foyer. To speak or make a motion, please raise your hand and state your name for the record when you are recognized. All motions require a second. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda for the February 19th, 2026 meeting?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda or the meeting minutes from.
For the adoption of the agenda, I have a
Yeah.
motion by Ms. Jackson Hale. Thank you.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Member Bravo Bazard, for the record, I second the motion.
I need one more second from a voting member. Apologies.
Arcelia Barajas, I second.
I have a second by Ms. Barajas. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Excellent. The agenda is approved. The next item is the discussion of possible action to approve the minutes from the February 16th, 2023 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the February 16th, 2023 meeting? Ms.
I just have a
Jackson-Hale?
question.
Yeah, by all means.
Are there any existing members that were present during that particular meeting that can attest to the accuracy of the minutes?
Thank you. None of the members that were at that meeting are currently on the advisory council meeting. The minutes are generated based on watching the recording of it, the generation of those minutes, then it goes through several processes of people evaluating that. But correct, none of the current members on the CI committee were part of that meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from February 16th, 2023 meeting?
Yes, Arcelia Barajas, I motion to approve the minutes.
Nakia Jackson Hale, second.
I have a motion from Ms. Barajas and a second by Ms. Jackson Hale. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstains? The minutes are approved. The next section, item 2.02, presentations and discussion regarding the following documents. We'll be going through sections of this packet to familiarize you with its contents, as this is our first meeting. So we will begin, and this is in your binder, we'll begin with the Sex Education Advisory Committee bylaws. So you'll have a tab in your binder that is set up for reference 2.02. I'll be referring to this compiled document right here. You'll notice on the bottom it says page 1 of 38. So we will just walk through the highlights of some of those pieces. So please take a look at page 5. And on page 5, you will see the bylaws dictate the term of each member as a 2-year term based on the 9-month school calendar, and that members may be reappointed at the discretion of the Board of Trustees, Board of School Trustees. You'll also see that members will regularly attend meetings. We will have a chairperson and a vice chairperson. The chairperson presides over all meetings, coordinates and schedules the meetings with the liaison. The chairperson also acts as the liaison for the committee members. The vice chairperson will assist the chairperson as requested and will preside over meetings in the chairperson's absence. We will vote on these positions during this meeting, during agenda items 2.04 and 2.05. The responsibilities of the meeting, of the members of the Sex Education Advisory Committee are as follows, and this is on page 7, if you'd like to turn to page 7. This is the responsibilities of this committee. Advise CCSD concerning the content and materials to be used during instruction. Evaluate and review materials based on the Sex Education Operational Guide for K-12 curriculum development. The curriculum guide is used as a foundation of alignment when the committee reviews materials. We will go through that guide in a moment. You will preview the curriculum and resources which are considered for classroom use in units concerning human reproductive system, related communicable diseases, sexual responsibility, and acquired immune deficiency syndrome per Nevada Revised Statute 389.036. Additionally, you will analyze and study curriculum resources for appropriateness and then recommend approval or rejection of the materials that could be included in classroom use. As seen on page 7, our meetings are typically held 3 times during the year. If there are no requests for material to be reviewed, then we will not have a meeting. If so, there will be a notice of cancellation sent 10 days prior to the planned meeting date to our members. As the General Counsel will discuss during Agenda Item 2.03, we are bound by Nevada open meeting laws. Therefore, we must post all relevant documents at least 3 days in advance. For voting, each Sex Education Advisory Committee voting member shall be entitled to 1 vote. No proxy votes are allowed. Members may also attend a meeting and vote on agenda items via telephone if necessary. Moving on to page 9. In the materials section and preview procedures, CCSD administrators, school counselors, school nurses, and/or teachers may submit materials to be reviewed by the Sex Education Advisory Committee. Materials may include books, media, pamphlets, charts, kits, displays, models, curriculum, and guides. There is a request form that teachers, administrators, or school nurses fill out, and that is how the materials come to our office. We review the alignment between the materials submitted and the topics and objectives to be included in the CCSD Sex Education Operational Guide for K-12 curriculum, as it is required by the Nevada Revised Statute 389.036. If the submitted materials do not align, they are rejected. As a reminder, this is a recommending committee, so the charge of this committee is to make recommendations to the Board of School Trustees who have the final say in the recommendation. This is an advisory committee only, and therefore this committee has no regulatory or policy-making authority. We will now take a look at the curriculum, our Clark County School District Sex Education Operational Guide for K-12 curriculum development. This is starting on page 12 on the bottom. In the CCSD, sex education instruction is abstinence-based. Abstinence-based sex education teaches that abstinence is the only 100% effective method for avoiding sexually transmitted infections, STIs, and unintended pregnancy. Abstinence-based sex education includes medically accurate, factual instruction on contraception such as types, functions, and effectiveness of contraceptive methods. The goal of sex education in CCSD is to provide students with accurate information about the human body and reproduction, and an understanding of themselves in relationship to responsible decision-making. This information is presented in a medically accurate, unbiased manner at the student's appropriate maturation level. As you will see shortly, Nevada Revised Statutes 389.036 outlines the topics of this course of instruction and the work of this advisory committee. When you turn to page 16 of 38, please. This is where the curriculum guidance begins. We have grade 3, grade 4, and grade 5 objectives categorized by 4 main topics of the Nevada Revised Statute 389.036, which are human reproductive systems, related communicable diseases, sexual responsibility, and acquired immune deficiency syndrome. Since there are no approved materials for instruction in grade 3 and 4, we will continue to teach these standards during the 5th grade growth and development unit. On page 20 of 38, this starts health, grade 8, on page 21. Excuse me, page 20. And on page 21 is high school health. These 3 pages, which are 19, 20, and 21, are the 3 main pages that we will use in conjunction with the materials brought forth for you to preview today, review, and make recommendations. I'll give everyone a moment to look over pages 19, 20, and 21. So in the process of selecting and reviewing material and making a recommendation, you can compare back to the objectives that are outlined on page 19 for that grade level, 20 for grade 8, and 21 for high school. Next, we'll move on to Appendix A, which is on page 23. Appendix A on page 23 is from the Nevada Revised Statutes. Per Nevada Revised Statute 389.036, the 4 areas may only be taught by a teacher or school nurse with qualifications that have been previously approved by the Board of School Trustees. As I indicated earlier, for the committee, that you are currently serving on, the NRS dictates the appointment of the advisory committee, which consists of 5 parents of children who attend the school district, 4 representatives, 1 from each of the 4 professions or occupations: medicine or nursing, counseling, religion, and teaching, and pupils who attend the school district. This committee advises the district concerning the content and materials to be used in the units of instruction established pursuant to this section of the recommended ages of the pupils whom the course is offered. The final decision on these matters will be made by the Board of School Trustees. Please be aware that we are an opt-in state. The parent or guardian of each pupil must furnish with written notice prior to receiving instruction. Opt-in is required by the Nevada Revised Statute 389.036, and this means that written consent of the parent or guardian is required. Page 23 of 38, you'll see that consent. If the parent or guardian says yes, then the student can receive instruction. If the teacher receives a no, or the permission slip is not returned, that child cannot be provided instruction as per this statute. All instructional materials to be used in the course must be available for inspection by parents or guardians of pupils at reasonable times and locations before the course is offered or taught. An appropriate written notice of availability of the materials must be furnished to all parents or guardians. Pages 24 through 27 are the CCSD regulations 6123 and policy 6123, which have the same language as the Nevada Revised Statutes. Now, I know that that was a lot, and it's a thick manual. I think the go-to suggestion would be considering pages 19, 20, and 21. Those are the objectives for those specific courses. When you're making the judgments around the materials, those should be the guide that references for you. Any questions? I would now like to move the agenda to item 2.03, which is parliamentary procedure training. There's a presentation and discussion regarding parliamentary procedures utilizing Robert's Rules of Order as a guide, recognizing the exceptions for small boards and open meeting laws by CCSD General Counsel, Ms. Souza.
Thank you. One question, Mr. Chairman. When I want to move to the next slide, how do I indicate that? Like that? Or next? Or? Oh,
Yeah, if you just point, we'll change slides.
okay, great. All right, let's see where we're at. Okay, we're at the Robert's Rules of Procedure, and for the most part, this is a borrowed PowerPoint, you'll see. Nonetheless, it's mostly just to make sure that people aren't talking over each other and making sure that there's some order, you know what to expect as we move along. We can move through this pretty quickly, though. There is someone who invented this, Henry Martin Robert. So let's move forward to the next slide and the next slide. There he is. He's an Army general, and he decided that there need to be some kind of procedural process in order to get through meetings quickly and efficiently. Next slide. So you'll see the rules of order facilitate full participation of people in the group and the transaction of business, so you can actually move things along and accomplish things without infighting and talking over each other and not having a record of what happened. So as we move along, you'll see it allows groups to maintain the democratic rule, ensure that all members have equal rights and privileges. And I will make a side note here that there are some voting members and some non-voting members, correct? And so while they all don't have equal rights for voting, you should be able to have a say just like anyone else on the panel. This will protect the rights of minority and majority groups, whichever side you are on in the issue. And the majority has the right to decide, but the minority has rights which must be protected. And usually that involves the right to be able to discuss it and voice your opinions. Next slide. So Robert's rules will govern the way the committee functions unless for some reason the bylaws override that. The public also has a right to address the board and share their opinions at the appropriate time. I believe in this presentation there'll be 2 times that the public can speak. They can either speak in the beginning and at the end of the meeting, or they can speak in relation to each item on the agenda. So I'm not sure which way the committee would like to proceed, but they'll let you know when it's appropriate time for the public to make their comments. Next slide. This is silly, I don't like this slide, but whatever. There's actually a book on this if you want to look it up and get really good at these. Next slide. This is actually the Roberts Rules of Order that people can order on Amazon or whatever if you really want to get into depth of exactly what the rules are. Next slide. There are some general theories related to Robert's Rules of Order, and the point being that it's not the decision you make. It's not that the decision you make must be correct, but that each decision you make must be correctly made. So it has to go in a certain order, be recorded, and to be meaningful in the process of the meeting. Bylaws can affect the general rules as well. So as we've established, a quorum must be present for the group to act. So you probably heard somebody comment, like, do we have a quorum? Yes, we do. And the quorum will be defined, what is a quorum in the bylaws. And if not defined, then the majority of the membership, and I would just put in a word, the majority of the voting membership should be present if we're making a decision. Only one question should be considered at any given time, and that's also to mean like one motion should be on the table at any given time. And no member should speak until recognized by the chair. This helps people stop talking over each other or getting emotionally involved, and nobody can tell what's happening next. So the rules really put the cogs in the wheel so that the process in the meeting can move forward and we can establish some things at the meeting. And the chair, of course, would maintain strict impartiality during the discussion. So a member may rise, or I believe we've now have either raise your hand. Sometimes at the board meetings for CCSD, you'll see people ring in and they can touch their sensor up here, and it lets the chair know that somebody wants to speak. So there's several ways of doing that. And the way that we do that then is say, Mr. Chairperson in this case, or Madam Chairperson if that tends to be the case later on. And then the member makes these exact words. I move that, and then you enter your motion. There's a list of motions in your packet here. And so if you have trouble with that, I'm sure the chair can help you or one of us can help you. As we already saw, it's working great. Somebody made a motion. I think we've had 2 motions in 2 seconds already. So we're already doing it right. So the chair says it's been moved by, for example, to adopt the agenda, and then seconded that. And then if they like, after that point, there can be a discussion. If it's debatable, because not every motion is debated. For example, motions of privilege and whatnot, like, hey, can we turn down the heat? It's too hot in here. Something like that would be a motion of privilege that doesn't require a lot of discussion. But normally on the things that you'll be deciding on, there'll be probably some debate or discussion. The chair would refrain from debate while presiding, and the proposer of the motion has the first right of debate. It must be related, meaning it's germane only to the motion. So we don't want to get off track, as they say, go down the rabbit hole or get in the ditch or whatever. We'll try to keep the comments and the motion and the discussion limited to what motion is on the table at that time. Next in the process, the chair says, if there's no further discussion, the motion is, and someone can restate the motion. Oftentimes I've seen it where the discussion is so heated and there's so much going on, and then people go, okay, we're ready to vote. And a lot of the people, including me sometimes, will go, wait, what was the motion? And so the chair can restate the motion so that you all are very clear on what you're voting on. There should be no tricks, so they can restate the motion. They call for the vote, and people will vote. If it passes, that will be announced. If there's a tie, that actually means that the motion fails. So there has to be a majority vote to get something passed in the committee. And then the chair will announce the result. All right, next slide. Chair begins the debate by asking for a discussion. And then if there needs to be something that stops the debate, they can motion to close the debate and move to a question, or a non-debatable item requires like a 2 out of 3 agreement to move forward. You can table a motion. That just means you're going to just set it aside for later, but you can make a motion to table something. Like say it's not, you don't have enough information, or someone isn't here to do the presentation that you need, or you don't have the materials available. Something like that would cause you to maybe table something for the next meeting. You can also postpone to a certain date. So you can make a motion to postpone a vote on something to a later date as well. Next slide. There are all these different kinds of motions, and I've worked at CCSD for 26 years, and I've never memorized this list. So for the most part, we'll move forward, indicate that you need to make a motion. If something's way out of line, it'll be obvious. But you don't have to, I don't think, state what type of motion that you're making or anything. That's really particular. If someone's really into that and has bought the book and you want to take the test, these are the kinds of things you might study. But for the most part, they don't mention these kind of words when you're in the meetings. So next, okay. Let's see if I can make heads or tails of this. Do not relate to pending business. I'm not exactly sure what that means because I just told you stay on topic. So I didn't create this PowerPoint, but maybe it's something that's open, or some open investigation, or something that's being considered by the board already, or something like that. Maybe that's what they mean by this, but for the most part, you would just stay on topic. Whatever the topic is, the curriculum or whatever materials in front of you, you would just keep it to that. Here's some examples of the privileged motions. To fix a time to adjourn, to recess, to rise to a question of privilege. Like I just said, heat or noise. You know, if the gallery gets too loud, somebody can make a motion to that effect, or call for the order of the day. So there's not a lot of debate going on about those items. It's just a type of motion that we would consider. Here's the second group, subsidiary motions. You would assist in treating or disposing of a main motion, and all of these would require a second. So here it says it depends if it's debatable, and it would require a majority vote. I'm not sure what they mean by unless it's involving the rights of others, because here we are making decisions about what to move forward to the board to approve. It probably would involve some rights, the author, the submitter, those kinds of things. But that's something you would vote on, and you would need a majority vote. And you can amend a motion as well. That's in this group called subsidiary motions. I'm trying to move through this because it's a little dry. Okay, examples of subsidiary motions would be it says lay on the table. That sounds really weird to me, but you table something, you table a topic. You can call for the previous question. You can limit or extend a debate that's going on at any time, and you can postpone something to a definite time, like let's move this to next meeting to be the second item considered. You can do things like that. You can refer an item to a committee if you think it needs more in-depth research. You can amend a motion, and you can postpone the matter indefinitely. Maybe it's something, after a discussion, you guys all decide, this isn't really something for this committee. You can postpone something like that indefinitely. Okay, next category, incidental motions. Incidental to pending motions or business at hand. Again, it says it's not debatable. Examples are to suspend the rules. I'm a rule follower, so I don't know about suspending the rules. So there's probably going to be some discussion about that. We really don't want to suspend very many rules. You don't want to go rogue in this committee. But we can have a discussion about that. You can withdraw a motion that you've already made, because sometimes someone in debate will say something to you and you realize, now that I think about it again, I'm going to withdraw my motion. That's okay. It's one of these incidental motions. You can object to consideration of certain material or some kind of topic. You can rise to a point of order, so you can call our attention to something. rise to a parliamentary inquiry. So that's, again, the procedural type motions that you might want to make. Something like that might sound like, hey, there hasn't been a motion made. Why are we already discussing, or something like that. An appeal from a decision of the chair. Something like that might sound like he's decided to curtail discussions on this. Feels like there's been enough discussions, but you can appeal from that and say, I just have one more thing I want to say about this, and we'll see how that goes. Then the next is to call for a division of the question. So a lot of times there's questions like, if we do this, and then we do that, and then that, and then we could do this or that. It gets complex, a complex compound question, way back from grammar school. And so sometimes they can divide those up and break it down into little pieces so everybody's super clear on what they're voting for and whether they're for it or against it. Next slide. Okay, incidental motions, incidental to pending motions or business at hand. Examples. Oh, I need to move myself to the next slide, and I'm not exactly sure why my PowerPoint is not moving. Let's see what happens here. Okay, motions that bring a question again before the body. So you're the body, so you know. Okay, and so what these kinds of motions would do would bring back to the assembly, the group, a question that has already been considered. To do that, then it also requires a second. So the motion goes out. I move to bring XYZ again before the group or the committee, and then somebody would second that. And then there may or may not be debate on that, depending on what the chair would like to allow. And then here are some examples of those kinds of motions. Commonly used motions. The main motion, I move to amend the bylaws. I move to adopt this curriculum. I move to move this forward for board approvals. It sounds something like that. Again, there's that lay on the table. That I think you can just move to table it for later. And two, people get caught up in really the finite particulars of the rules. They're just here to keep order for the group. And I think if you just use everyday language and explain what you want to do, I think people will understand. They'll fit it into a category, and you'll be able to make a motion, make a second, and vote when you need to. Common procedure. So for a main motion, you would bring an item on the agenda before the assembly. So here we have our agenda right here under the tab marked agenda. And then as you go through that agenda, then those are the types of things that you can make motions on. We would like to stick to this. And we'll get to open meeting law and why this is, but for the most part, we can't bring up new topics or be voting on things that aren't listed here because the public has a right to know since this is an open meeting. And so these main motions will be just on the agenda items that are before you. So you don't want to stack motions. So you want to put one out there, have a second or not, have a discussion, vote on it or not before you go on to the next motion. Otherwise, if they start stacking up and I move this and I move that, and it's really hard to keep track in the record which motion was being voted on, who voted what. And so this is just a precautionary comment in here to just do one motion at a time. So when you state a motion, it's very important to state the exact words for the motion because everyone will be listening really closely because they have their own ideas about what they want to approve and what they don't want to approve. And there'll be people in the room that take really particular notes about exactly how you stated the motion. And then again, you can always amend it, like we've covered a little bit here, but you want to make sure your motion is clear. If it's not, somebody can clarify it and help if they're not clear, but you want to be real clear on what your motion is when you ring in and state your motion for the group. And as a side note, the chair can also ask for you to put your motion in writing so the chair is really clear and the record's really clear exactly what words were in the motion. Seconding the motion, we've seen it done here already. As soon as somebody makes a motion, somebody feels like I'm on board with that, you can say, I second the motion, and the whole process moves forward. Now, the second of a motion doesn't mean you agree. That's not the vote. You still get a vote, but you can second it so that there can be discussion that follows that. So if you want to move it to discussion, you want to say your thing, or you know other people in the group are really going to want to say something, you can second it, and then it goes for discussion, and then you can vote however you feel. Next, let's see, chair has 2 duties. The chair must determine if the motion is in order. If not, the chair will say the chair rules the motion is not in order because. They'll give you some kind of reason. You must ensure that it's a clearly phrased motion, and the chair should help the mover reword it before stating it, so that it's stated in a way that's standardized and people can understand what the motion is that's presently before the group. The chair will then state the question, and of course we would stick to the subject matter. Irrelevant topics are not in order. I don't think I have to go into relevance. Relevance, just real quick, is would your comment tend to move the process along? Would your comment tend to help people understand the comment? Because we've seen on TV before, just snipping back and forth on the board just doesn't move things forward, and we end up being here till 1 o'clock in the morning, and nobody likes that. So we'll keep our comments relevant to the actual topic, and remember the topic is going to be right here in the agenda. We want to debate the issues and not take things personal or make personal comments or snide comments. That's just unprofessional, and so. This group is starting. I think we're on a good roll already. Everybody looks really professional, and and they're going to participate in the process. So we would address people professionally with Mr. Chairman, Mr. Commissioner, Mr. and Mrs., as long as it's professional. Next, amendments. Here we are. Amendments must relate to the main motion. So if someone makes a motion and it's not quite worded the way that someone else would like it worded, you can state the motion and you can say, I'd like to motion to amend, and then what you can do is just work in what you would like the amendment to be. So say, I agree with Kara McAllen's motion, but I would like to clarify that it should only be for 5th graders. Something like that would be a good amendment that you could do. It says thinnest of filaments there, so it has to be related to the motion, but you can amend it in little ways. You can add words to make it something that you think would pass by the group. So as the business goes along, you'll see how when you make a motion, it can be amended, and then people can vote, and you'll move the process right along. I'm going to skip over a little bit the kinds of amendments. I think you guys get the amendment process. Once there's a motion, you can make a motion to amend it, and then you just state what you think your amendment would be, and then there'll be discussions. At the end of that, there would be voting. The vote on the amendment does not decide whether the main motion would be adopted, only whether the wording in the main motion would be changed. I think that's self-explanatory from the word like an amendment. So in the end, the vote is taken on the main motion as amended. So if you don't like the amendment, you can always vote no, make another motion to restate the original way it was worded if you think that's a better way to word it or that's what you really want to vote for. And we can sort that out as we go through. But what you wouldn't do is introduce the same amendment twice. So if you have a motion and somebody's amended it and then that fell through and maybe the vote was declined as to adopting that, you don't just restate your motion with the amendment again, or somebody restates the motion and you say, I move to amend it again. Like, that's not proceeding in an efficient manner. Some of these rules are just logical, I'm sure you'll see. So when this is going on, we go to voting then. So you've had your motion, maybe an amendment, your motion's been seconded, there's discussion, and then the chair puts the question to the body or the group. He can also ask, is there any further debate? If none, you've seen it already, all in favor, all opposed, are there any abstentions? And that's for the record, so we know what happened here. Move the question. Move the question, call the question, close debate. So a person must be recognized by the chair to make a motion, and as we all know, like this seems like you just don't shout it out. And then is a vote to stop debate and not to vote on a pending motion. So you can stop the debate and not vote on the motion that's before the group. So then the next comment here is about getting a majority vote, a quorum, and this tells you that 2 to 3 vote, motion passes and the debate is stopped. Because once you vote and the motion's passed, there's no need for the debate anymore. You should make sure all the debate has already happened so that you're not swaying people's decision after the vote's already been made. Get all the debate out first, and then, of course, you'd vote. If you don't get a majority vote, you don't get a quorum vote, the motion fails and debate continues. Okay, the proper form of the motion, this says, is to lay on the table. But I've heard many times, I'd like to make a motion to table this until the next committee meeting, something like that. So as long as you say the word table in there, I think people will understand what the meeting is. If you want to be super formal, you can say, I'd like to lay this on the table. And something related to that would be the idea that you can postpone it to a definite time. You can refer it to a committee, you can commit it to something, and then that indicates that there's going to be further review, and you probably wouldn't go for a motion to vote right then, or vote on a motion that's on the table right then. Next one, withdrawal of a motion. So you can withdraw your motion. So once you make a motion, maybe it's been amended, maybe it hasn't, and maybe during the discussion you realize, I don't like that idea so much anymore. You can withdraw your motion, and that can happen from the maker of the motion. So I can't withdraw someone else's motion. Nobody else can withdraw someone else's motion. The motion maker can withdraw their own motion. Someone could ask, perhaps the chair could say, would you like to withdraw your motion? Because maybe the discussion has gone so far that we forget where we are in the process. So that might be appropriate too, and that might prompt the motion maker to withdraw their own motion if they want. But just a simple suggestion by the chair to, would you like to withdraw your motion, does not mean that you have to withdraw your motion at all. Point of order. Next slide. The point of order is used to correct a mistake in procedure. So if you see something that comes out, that's happening and it's against these rules or whatever, you just speak out in order. You make your point, you ask to be recognized, and then you can, any voting member can call to the attention of the chair to a violation of the rules. And then adjournment. The second highest ranking motion. So, because everybody's looking, when is this over? And so that's what you're looking for to adjourn. So you fix the time which to adjourn is the highest motion that you can make. This will end at 8:30 tonight. And then you can't interrupt the speaker during that. It would require another member to second that motion. Nobody debates that. It either passes or it doesn't. If you want to adjourn tonight by 8:30, someone would second that, and then we all vote. Doesn't require a lot of discussion. The majority, of course, wins. And the chair can adjourn without a motion as well. So when all the discussion dies down, we've been through the whole agenda, we're clearly at the end, nobody's talking, public speakers have already spoken, then the chair can adjourn without any of the members offering up a motion. What happens if you change your mind? That's happened. That has happened. You can't make the same motion at the meeting, at the same meeting in which it was first offered up. But you can move to reconsider. So that's sort of a flag to the group like, let's not charge ahead on what's happening with this motion just yet. You can make a motion to reconsider. The majority can vote on that. That can win. You can reconsider it and open it back up for debate again. Okay. Appeal decision of the chair. Sorry. If you disagree with the ruling by the chair, you make a motion. I would like to appeal the decision of the chair. Say he wants to adjourn the meeting, and you think there's something else that needs to be handled. You can disagree by appealing the decision of the chair. Someone else in the group would second that motion, and each member can speak just once. And the chair may speak twice to explain their position or why they think we should move forward with what the chair has decided. And then the chair will state like these magic words, shall the decision of the chair be sustained? And then people vote on that. So that's just another nuance to the way the meeting can go. I don't know that I've ever seen that one, but here it is. It's possible if you need it. All right, we're at the fun facts section. Abstentions are not a vote. So perhaps you have a bias with something, or your family member worked for the textbook company, or you somehow need to abstain from voting. You're welcome to do that and should do that in some circumstances when you feel like, or somebody feels like it would be inappropriate for me to vote on this. If you have some kind of personal gain you can get from it, say you wrote the textbook or something, you should abstain from a vote on whether the group uses the textbook in the curriculum. That's an easy one to explain, but if you have questions, you can always call over to the Office of the General Counsel and pose, do I need to abstain in this situation? And you can get advice on that. There's a vote of no confidence. I can't imagine this group would ever get to that point, but that's an option for you too. You can do a friendly amendment. And then for the minutes, what was done at the meeting, not exact record of what was said. So when we look at adopting the minutes, it's just a record of what we think happened at the last meeting. It's not going to be a transcript like a court reporter would take, but it should be the general gist of what happened. If you were here at the last meeting and the minutes don't reflect what you thought happened, we should probably have a discussion with that about the minutes. Rare, but again, it's just one of your options. We're at the end of this slide, and this indicates if there's any questions. I don't put myself out there to be an expert on Robert's rules, but if you do have questions, we can address those, or we're happy if you want to send those over in an email or something. We can consider that, really research the rules for you as well. Sound good? Any questions? All right, we can roll over to the next fun slide. Okay, the next one is about open meeting law. So we'll pull that up. And we'll see if... Sure, we have a question, okay. Item 2.3 on the agenda, is that what you're saying, 2.3? Okay, yeah. Okay, great question. So if we look on the agenda that we've given, there's 3 pages. On the 3rd page, it will say subject in bold, and across from the subject, it'll have certain numbers. And that's the way that we would check to see what's on the agenda and to keep order. If you want to, the chair would vote, we're going to vote on 2.04, or we're going to remove 2.04 from the agenda. Things like that can happen, but you'll see on that page 3 subject 2.03 is this parliamentary procedure training. That's what we're on now.
So if we wanted a copy of the slides, is that available?
Yes. So we can work out a way for you to email because I have those with me. And I would like to recognize the chair.
Thank you. You don't have tabs for ones that don't have reference items that weren't submitted. So the things to review, you'll see sections in there with notes and other kind of items. But if it wasn't a formal reference item on the agenda, it's just a presentation, that's why you won't have a tab for that with the information in there.
Right. That's a great example because under 2.3, I could have printed out the slide presentations and put them in there as reference as well. So then you'd probably see a tab. Correct, Mr. Chair? Okay. So here we are at should be open meeting for government training. I didn't create this PowerPoint either, so. Okay, what is open government? So access to government proceedings to allow for public oversight. We're a public entity. I think that's no surprise to anyone here. We're funded by tax dollars, federal dollars, and so the public wants to have a say in what we do and how we say it, and especially this topic, a lot of parents want to come in and have a say. So we're in the field of open meeting law, and there's rules to that so that you can actually make it open to the public, make it accessible with proper notice. So we'll go through some of those ideas here. There's pre-meeting, meeting, and post-meeting requirements for that. OML means open meeting law. Violations and consequences will be covered in this. And so next slide. Open meeting law and the presumption of openness. So the Nevada legislature passed the open meeting law, and they have decided that all public bodies exist to aid in the conduct of the people's business. And that's really the gist of it right there, is that they want to know about it, they want to see it happen, they want to be present, and if they feel passionately about it, they want an opportunity to speak before you vote on something. The spirit and policy behind the open meeting law favors open meetings, and any exceptions thereto should be strictly construed. So it's no secret that bodies in the government have violated the open meeting law before. They just want to get things done quick. They just want to talk about something, that they're passionate about, or they have a constituent or some member of the community that's spoken to them about something, and they just want to see what everybody's doing on the group and, get a consensus. But all those things are not allowed under the open meeting law. There's very strict rules to keep the discussion and the voting open to the public. And we'll go through how that's going to happen. Does the open meeting law apply? So the fast answer to that for this is yes. There's some meetings that it doesn't apply to. For example, when the attorneys advise the board on something, and it would be something about some individual's private work record or special ed records of students and things like that, things that can't be open to the public. There can be exceptions to that, but for the most part, we would cleanse the discussion or redact the documents so that there can be full and open discussion about any given topic. Okay, so let's skip to the next one. Open meeting law applies to meetings, so be careful about the word meeting. It doesn't just mean in person. It could be a group chat. It could be a group telephone discussion. So you want to be careful about how often and when and how you're speaking to other members of the group about the topics here. If two members of this group see each other out and you're having dinner out or something, you can say hello, how's it going, how's the weather, things like that. All that's fine. It doesn't mean you can't talk to each other at all. It just means you can't really and shouldn't really discuss the topics that would generally become before the committee. So you can't do that when less than a quorum is present. So say the weather was so bad today and the traffic was so bad that we only had 2 people show up here. Then we'd say, well, we don't have a quorum. Generally, you can't get much business done at that point, and so most of the time you would make a motion to postpone, all the agenda or the topics to the next one. We wouldn't proceed forward with something like that. Because you couldn't get anything done. The votes will require quorum vote. Okay, let's go to the next chapter, or next slide. Non-meeting exceptions, a gathering or series of members of a public body. So like I said, it can occur at a social function. You just don't deliberate on the topics that would come before this committee. You can receive information directly. I could call a member, or I could email a member who's asked the PowerPoints that were today. But what you don't want to do is group together and have a discussion about it. You don't want to deliberate, which just means discussing the whole topic. And you definitely don't want to say, okay, let's all agree to vote this way. That's that's a big no-no in the open meeting world, and there are repercussions for doing that. You'll get complaints from the committee, you'll get filings, all kinds of things like that. So if you can just avoid speaking about the topics that would come before the committee with groups of the committee, you're going to be pretty smooth sailing. So in open meeting, in order to let the public know, there has to be a notice of the meeting posted 3 working days before the meeting. It has to include the time, the place, and location of the meeting, a list of locations where the notice has been posted, the name and contact information from whom the public can obtain supporting materials, and an agenda. So the group will have cutoffs for what can go on the agenda, and it will be quite a bit before 3 days before the meeting, because they have to put it all together, put it in a nice, neat form, and get it published in the agenda. But just know that if you need anything on the agenda, there's deadlines well before the meeting that you would have to comply with. Otherwise, it has to go on the next agenda. So here, notice of meeting, the minimum posting requirements would be no later than 9 a.m. of the 3rd working day before the meeting. So here we are on Thursday, right? So Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. At 9 a.m. on Monday was the last chance that we had to post that this meeting was happening. It just gives the community members time to take off work, arrange for a car, figure out the bus schedule, however it is that they need to do to get here and be part of the process. So there's places you can post these. The people that know that they have to post know where they can post them. If you need that information, I'm sure you can contact the chair. And it's basically has to be clear and out there and available. Can't hide it somewhere. Okay, pre-meeting. So there needs to be a clear and complete statement of the topics scheduled to be considered during the meeting. So we're calling that here the agenda. A list of items on which the public body may take action, notable for possible action next to the appropriate items. So when we see the agenda, it will indicate which items the public can be involved in. They should mark in the agenda the periods devoted to public comment. Like I said, there's 2 kinds. Sometimes they do public comment in the very beginning and at the very end, or they can have public comment in alignment with each agenda item. So there's no rule that the items have to be taken in exact order that they're printed, just that we get to those or that we deal with them. So if we don't want to get to them, if we don't want to deal with them, we have to somehow dispose of them according to the parliamentary procedure. We can table them, we can postpone them. Those kinds of things will happen to the agenda items if we don't want to discuss them at this meeting. Just know that there's options for the agenda. You're not locked into that and forced to discuss it no matter what. Okay, next. Agenda requirement, a clear and complete statement. So it has to be clear to the public what you're going to talk about. So if we're going to talk about voting on something, if you're going to talk about a textbook, if you're going to talk, we can't hide it like discussion of material on the function of the liver, something like that. Like that, I don't think that's specific enough. So the group will make the agenda items specific enough so that the public can decide, do I want to show up and talk about that? Is that important to me or not? What is happening? Are they voting or just discussing? If they're just discussing, maybe I'll watch it on the live caption TV. If you're not discussing it, then, or if it's actually going for a vote, maybe the public wants to show up and actually speak on it. But the item number has to be clear enough so that the members of the public and also the members of the committee know exactly what you're going to talk about while you're here at the meeting. You're limited to the items on the agenda, so we can't get too far off topic, even though sometimes things come up in the meantime after the agenda is published. That's going to have to go on the next one, because unless we give the public the 3-day notice period, it's forbidden and it's a violation of the open meeting law to discuss a topic that's not on the agenda. And just think, it's not fair. If the public was hoping to talk about the function of the liver and it's not on the agenda, and then you talk about the function of the liver anyway, they're going to be very disappointed and they'll be lodging their complaints. So you just want to make clear that what's in the agenda and that you only stick to that. No items can be added to it. Pre-meeting still, additional requirements. It talks about accommodations, how public bodies can make reasonable efforts to assist and accommodate people with physical disabilities. I think this room has already met that requirement. There are special notices when there are additional notice requirements for consideration of things like character, misconduct, competence, physical or mental health of any person, 7 days personal service, or 14 days certified mail. So for example, if you thought suddenly Carrie Sousa was incompetent to serve the board and you want to discuss that, you have to personally serve me with a notice that you're going to talk about that. That's fair, so that I have a chance to show up and maybe agree with you. So there are such things as emergency meetings, but boy, it better be a hot topic emergency. I mean, health and safety is on the line at some point. Not just emergency that something got published in the media and everybody's a Twitter about it. That's not really an emergency, so you're going to want to stick to the notice requirements. All right, next slide. Meeting materials. Upon request by a member of the public body must provide the following at no cost. So we have to put out an agenda, we have to put out a copy of the supporting materials, and we will put out a copy of any proposed ordinances, regulations that are related to that. So oftentimes you'll see that on a table right outside in the hall. So when members come in, they can grab their packet. It's not quite as big as this usually, but it should have all the material that the board is considering, because they want to go along with you and understand what you're talking about, and if they want, have a say in that. So the public body must also have at least one copy of the above available to the public at the meeting. So in slim pickings times, you could just have one copy out there. Nobody gets to pick it up and bring it in with them, but you can have one copy out there and they can stand around and look at it, but you have to have at least one. Next slide, meeting materials. So you'll have your items, you'll have your supporting materials. So if you're going to talk about a contract for a book, or you're going to talk about something, you should have the item actually with it so people can see what you're talking about. And they should be available, those items should be available to the members of the public as well. So in the second rule here, it says in bold, when you provide a document to the committee members, provide that document to the public and allow the public time to review and comment on that documentation. That's a little less for this committee up here on the dais. It's more for people that are presenting items to the group. So if they're going to say, oh, let me show you a copy of that, or here's something I just found on the internet about that, and any tendency to hand somebody something or put it on the screen and show somebody, you're also going to have that available to the public as well. Next slide. Here are your two options for public comment. So we've gone over this beginning of the meeting, end of the meeting, or you can have it in alignment with each agenda item. You guys get to pick how that happens. The important part is that the public does get to comment. Restrictions on public comment. Whoever's doing the slides is doing a great job. Keeping right up. Okay, the restrictions on public comment have to be reasonable. And with the regular board meetings, it's 3 minutes, and they will actually cut off your speaker because everybody should get the 3 minutes. It has to be fair, and we don't want to interrupt the people that are speaking. We want to let them finish maybe their thought a little bit. We wouldn't let them ramble on because that would be a waste of everybody's time, and then again, not fair to the other speakers that are keeping to the time limit. But at the same time, just because there's maybe they've even said something that the previous speaker already said, they want to have their day and be able to speak, we would just let them speak for the most part. There are times when they're defaming, when they're being really disruptive, or they're making criticism of somebody that's defamatory. We, being you, can cut them off at that point. We also have school police that are here to assist with that. Usually you'll know when there's a big hot topic because the whole room will be full, and you'll get to experience some things like that. But for the most part, we let the public make their comments. All right, I'm going to move to the next one. Minutes. The minute minutes and the meeting minutes are mandatory, and they must include, and you'll see, here's a good example here, these items. So these are the mandatory items in the minutes. I'm going to skip past that because I know we're taking quite a bit of time to go through the slides. Open meeting law requirements and post-meeting. I like the progress here. We're already at the post-meeting. Here we go. Minutes. Public bodies must approve the minutes of their meetings within 45 days after the meeting or at the next meeting of the body, whichever occurs later. So if the next meeting is longer than 45 minutes on the calendar, longer than 45 days on the calendar, then you just wait for the next meeting for that to occur. If for some reason you're meeting in 40 days, then you'd wait for the 45 days, I suppose, and approve the minutes somehow. I think it's easier to just do it at the meeting. And then again, you must make the meeting minutes available. Next slide. Recordings and transcripts. Each public body, and that's what we are here, must either record its meeting on audio or videotape. And I think we're doing that here. Or cause the meeting to be transcribed by a court reporter. I don't think that's happening here, but somebody could always take a recording and get a transcript, but I can't be sure why anyone would do that, but you just have one or the other. Transcripts can act as the public body's meeting minutes. You can actually submit those as your minutes if you need to. But transcribing minutes often gets expensive, and I think it's rarely done. Open meeting law consequences. So why does this matter, is this section? The Nevada revised statutes provide for 2 substantial consequences if you violate the open meeting law. First, if you attend a meeting and participate with knowledge in violation of the open meeting law, you could be charged with a misdemeanor. Nobody wants that. That's a criminal charge, so nobody really wants that. So like I said, when you get together, somebody wants to have a party at their house, do not discuss the topics here. You don't want to get charged with a misdemeanor. It'll be in the news. It's no good. Second, the Attorney General can seek an administrative fine of up to $2,500 for violations of the open meeting law, and nobody really wants that either. Please note that if you're acting pursuant to advice given by your attorney, then you cannot be fined or prosecuted, but have your attorney call us if you're thinking you're going to group together and start discussing the topics, because for the most part, we'd like to keep CCSD out of the limelight for violations of open meeting law. Third rule, although applied sparingly, this is a criminal law, so take it seriously. Open meeting law important requirements. Many CCSD meetings must comply with the open meeting law, like this, the board meeting, the bond oversight committee. There's several committee meetings that must comply. The open meeting law is to make sure the actions taken are transparent to the public. There are specific requirements of how and where the agenda and backup documentation needs to be noticed and posted. So we've gone over that. And there are very few ways to close a meeting. Any discussions or actions taken must only be made on a proper agenda item and in public. So I think you get that. I don't want to drill that too much, but you can't get 6 of you together and start talking about, hey, have you seen what's going to be on the agenda, item 5? What do you think's happening with that? Like, that's just a discussion that should not happen. Everything you say should be out in the open in public, debated in public, discussed in public, and then voted on in public. No side agreements, no sidebars amongst the majority. If 2 people want to talk about it, sometimes there's some exceptions to something like that. But for the most part, if you see another member of the committee, it's just safer to go like, let's not discuss the agenda items. And then you'll be safe. You don't want to get that $2,500 fine, and you don't want a misdemeanor on your record either. Again, if there's a conflict of interest, that's what I was talking about before with the motion to abstain. So if there's a conflict of interest, if something's related to you, or somehow you may have a personal gain from it, or you know the person providing the material or is trying to sell the material to the school district, any kind of relation to the Board of Trustees, things like that you'd want to bring to our attention, and you can just disclose it. And it sounds something like this. Hey, I want to let the group know that my husband wrote the textbook that's before the committee, and they're voting on it today in item number 2.04, and I just want to let you know I'm going to abstain from that. So that's kind of how that sounds. If you do not comply, there are civil and potentially criminal penalties for that. Things get really messed up if you voted on something and you shouldn't have, you're gaining from it somehow. That's just a big public media frenzy that I'm sure you want to avoid. Next slide. Open meeting law, important requirements. Oh, did you get to that? Just make sure our slides are. Is that it? That was it. Oh, I didn't even get like a move to adjourn. Okay, so I was like, see how the signals are helpful in a meeting? So since I didn't make this PowerPoint, I didn't even know we're at the end. But lucky for you, we're at the end. So if you have any questions on open meeting law, you're welcome to call the Office of the General Counsel. You can write an email to the Office of the General Counsel. If you'd like to write this down, I'll give you the triage center for the Office of the General Counsel. Someone checks that 5 to 8 times a day, and they will forward your message to an attorney or someone who can answer your question. And the email address goes like this. Sounds weird. 0015-OGC at nv.ccsd.net. So it's that 0015 is the OGC, means Office of the General Counsel. When you send it into there, no matter who's on vacation or somebody stepped away or somebody's sick that day or whatever, there are people assigned to look at that and they can forward your question to the right person so you can get a speedy answer. And so with that, I will adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving to item 2.04, we'll start on agenda item 2.04 and accept nominations for a chairperson. 2.05 will be for a vice chairperson. Before I open the item, has everyone had an opportunity to fill out a public speaker card? I will now close that, and we will open 2.04. Nominations do not require a second. Are there any nominations for a chairperson?
I'd like to nominate Nakia Hale.
I have let me say it correctly. Yeah. Ms. Thomas for nomination for Ms. Nakia Hale.
Yes.
Jackson Hale, sorry. Do I have any other nominations? Is there any further discussion on the nominees? Do we have any public comment for 2.04, Elena? No public comment, our public comment is closed. Do we have a motion to close the nominations?
I'll motion it.
I have a motion
I'll motion it.
from Ms. Stevens. Do I have a second?
I second Arcelia Barajas.
I have a motion from Ms. Bras to close, for the second. We should vote to close. All in favor of closing the nominations, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The vote to close nominations carries, and we will now take a vote in the order of the nominations that were received. We have one nomination for Ms. Jackson Hale. We will take a vote on Ms. Jackson Hale. All for Ms. Jackson Hale to be our chairperson, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Ms. Jackson Hale is our new chairperson. We'll move on to item 2.05, and as no public speakers are in the room, we'll now accept nominations for a vice chairperson. Nominations do not require a second. Are there any nominations for a vice chairperson?
I'd like to nominate Dee Thomas.
I have one nomination from Ms. Jackson Hale for Ms. Thomas. Any other nominations? Any further discussion on the nominees or nominee? Seeing any public comment? No public comment. Public comment is closed. Do we have a motion to close the nominations for vice chair?
I motion to close the nominations. Arcelia Barajas.
Ms. Barajas, we have one motion to close. Do I have a second?
Carissa Quattrino, second the motion.
Ms. Quattrino to close. Vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And no abstentions? The vote to close nominations carries. We will now take a vote for the nomination. Vote for Ms. Thomas. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions? Ms. Thomas is our vice chairperson. And in our work of support, if I can have the new chairperson slide over to me, I'll slide over a chair so you don't have to move, and I will assist as we continue forward with the meeting, and our chair takes over.
Thank you, everyone. We will now proceed to Agenda Item 2.06, Discussion and Possible Action of Acceptance of Item 1345 for Good Heart Wilcox Essential Health Skills for Middle School, 3rd edition, textbook and ancillary materials is recommended. 2.06, Discussion and Possible Action. Do we have any discussion?
There's no public comment, so we can to accept and then have a conversation about it.
Do I have a motion to accept item 1345?
I motion to accept. Arcelia Barajas.
Do I have a second?
I'll second. Amanda, I'll second. Sorry.
Is there any discussion? I can start. I have a couple of notes on what is being presented to us. I just said that it's absent promoting mental and emotional health, and then the positive thinking, managing stress, and then it's also absent body image information. Do we have any discussion on this agenda item? Are we ready to take a vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We will now move on to item 2.07, discussion and possible action of acceptance of item 1346 for Goodhart Wilcox Essential Health Skills for High School 4th edition textbook and ancillary materials is recommended. 2.07, discussion and possible action of acceptance of item 1346 for Goodhart Wilcox Essential Health Skills for High School 4th edition textbook and ancillary materials is recommended. Those wishing to review this resource, before I open the item, has everyone had an opportunity to fill out public comment speaker card? Excellent. I will now close that. We will open 2.07. Do we have any public comment? Public comment is closed. Do I have a motion to accept item 1346?
D. Thomas, motion to accept item number 1346.
Do I have a second?
Arcelia Barajas, second.
Is there any discussion on item 1346? So I do have something that I wanted to add on the record. Nakia Jackson Hale. I was just wondering if there's implementation of local resources. So it had talked about resources as part of this textbook, but I was wondering if students are provided local resources as part of the lesson when this is presented to our students.
Chris Carroll, for the record, this, if approved or rejected, right? If approved, becomes part of a database of materials that teachers teaching this unit are allowed to use. There are other materials in that database already. Many of them connect to local, different contexts and different types of resources. This would become, if approved, and then approved by the Board of School Trustees, an additional piece of material in that database that teachers can use. It's
Okay.
teachers' choice, but they can only choose from the material in that database.
Okay. Any other discussion? Are we ready to take a vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? This motion carries. We will now move on to item 2.08, discussion and possible action of acceptance of item 1347 for Education, Training, and Research Associates, Health Smart, Grade 5 Teacher Guide and Workbook, Lesson 32, Old Me, New Me is recommended. 2.08, before I open the item, has everyone had an opportunity to fill out a public speaker card?
Chris Carroll, for the record, yes, no public speakers.
Public comment is closed. Do I have a motion to accept item 1347?
D. Thomas, motion to accept item 1347.
Do I have a second?
Amanda Stevens, I second.
Is there any discussion for item 1347? So I have discussion. So in this module, there is a lot of thoughts and feelings, but not much about how the body actually changes. So just wanted to make sure this is a supplement to materials that are already implemented. It's a follow-up to other lessons that are already approved. Question mark?
Chris Carroll, for the record, that is correct. So if this committee approves the Board of School Trustees, and they also choose or vote to approve, this becomes an additional resource in the body of materials that teachers can select to choose from to teach this unit.
Perfect, thank you. Any other discussion? Are we ready to take a vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? This motion carries. We will now move on to item 2.09, discussion and possible action of acceptance of item 1348 for Education, Training, and Research Associates Health Smart Grade 5 Teacher Guide, Lesson 33, Understanding Puberty and New Responsibilities is recommended. Before I open this item, has everyone had an opportunity to fill out a public speaker card?
Chris Carroll, for the record, there are no public speakers.
Public comment is closed. Do I have a motion to accept item 1348?
D. Thomas, motion to accept item number 1348.
Do I have a second?
Arcelia Barajas, second.
Is there any discussion? No discussion? Are we ready to take a vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We will now move on to item 2.10, discussion and possible action of acceptance of item 1349 for Education, Training and Research Associates Health Smart Grade 5 Teacher Guide and Workbook, Lesson 34, Understanding a Boy's Body is recommended. Before I open this item, is there any public comment?
Chris Carroll, for the record, there are no public comment.
Public comment is closed. Do I have a motion to accept item 1349?
D. Thomas, motion to accept item 1349.
Do I have a second?
Carissa Quattrino, second.
Any discussion? I just had a question, Nakia Jackson-Hale, for the record, about whether this module or this lesson is being taught separately to males and females or together.
Chris Carroll, for the record, the way that this is done at the elementary level in grade 5, boys are split into one room, girls are split into another, and then the teacher responsible for teaching that unit or that lesson selects from the materials that are appropriate for that group that they're working with.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question too. When the boys, like, who monitors, it's kind of a random question. Who monitors, like, what the teachers teach, if they actually do the lessons?
Chris Carroll, for the record, the teachers are required to teach based on the Nevada Academic Content Standards. So they're not allowed to deviate from those standards, and those standards define what has to be taught. Those are also in your guide, specifically for this one being grade 5 on the operational guide. That's on page 19 that defines the exact objectives that are needing to be covered in that section. This, as a resource, relates to some of those objectives, not all, as it is one lesson for that group.
Carissa Quattrino, I have a question. For the students that are labeled as like X for their gender, how would this apply? Because they might not fit into a boy or a girl group.
Chris Carroll, for the record, that would be parental choice.
Okay.
Amanda, I have another question.
Chair recognizes Amanda.
Do they, do the boys learn the girls stuff and the boys and the girls learn Like, do they, even though they're separated in different groups, are they told about the other side too?
Chris Carroll, for the record, yes, as per the objectives, it is defining those different body parts, yes.
Any additional discussion? No? Are we ready to take a vote? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We will now move to item 2.11, discussion and possible action of acceptance of item 1350 for education, training, and research associates, Health Smart Grade 5 Teacher Guide and Workbook, Lesson 35, Understanding a Girl's Body is recommended. Before I open this item, has everyone had an opportunity to fill out a public comment card?
Chris Carroll, there is no public comment.
Public comment is closed. Do I have a motion to accept item 1350?
D. Thomas, motion to accept item number 1350.
Do I have a second?
Carissa Quattrino, second the motion.
Is there any discussion for this item 1350?
Kara McAnallen for the record. I believe that this information was very on par for fifth grade level, and I believe it was very informational.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? Are we ready for a vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We'll now move on to item 2.12, discussion and possible action of acceptance of item 1351 for education, training, and research associates, Health Smart Grade 5 Teacher Guide and Workbook, Lesson 38, Seeking Information and Support is recommended. Before I open the item, has everyone had an opportunity to fill out a public comment speaker card?
Chris Carroll, for the record, there are no public speaker cards.
Public comment is closed. Do I have a motion to accept item 1351?
And D. Thomas, motion to accept item number 1351.
Do I have a second?
Amanda Stevens, I second.
Is there any discussion? Nakia Jackson Hale, for the record, I'll just comment. One of my big questions was, are local resources being shared as well? But that was answered in a previous comment, so I'm assuming the same is happening here also.
Chris Carroll, for the record, yes, that is correct. Resources are in that database that teachers are allowed to select from. This would join them if this board or committee approves, and then the Board of School Trustees also approves.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? Are we ready for a vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We will now move on to item 3.01, public comment on non-agenda items. Should a member of the public wish to speak on matters within this jurisdiction of the committee not listed as action items on the agenda, they may speak during the public comment period on non-agenda items. Speakers will be given 2 minutes to address the committee. The public should be aware that the committee is unable to deliberate or take action on the items raised during public comment period on non-agenda items. Do you have any public comment? Public comment is now closed. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Arcelia Barajas, I motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
D. Thomas, I second that motion to adjourn.
Any discussion? I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? This meeting is adjourned at 6:39.
Chris Carroll, for the record, the next anticipating meeting date for SEAC will be May 12th. But we will follow up and communicate that as soon as that date is confirmed and we're aware.
Thank you.